for early sound check. Early sound check. Let's hope we're good. Video looks good. Audio looks good. I don't know if we're good yet, but we'll find out on Instagram. We're going to see if we can go live. See if the sound works. Sound check me if anybody's on. Why is it mirrored? I wonder why it's mirrored on. I don't know if you guys can see it or not, if it's mirrored. I'm talking about something else. Can you hear me? Hopefully you can. Not going on. Now you're gonna make me nervous. You're like, oh my God, I don't want to come on this crazy guy show. Don't worry, I didn't forget about you. I'll be on in a minute. Hoping you can hear me. Can you hear me? Sound check, sound check. Can you guys hear me? I wonder if you can hear me. Is there a sound check out there? Let me know. Oh, cool. Sweet. Awesome. Sweet, sweet, sweet. I'll go on about 6 minutes. I don't even have any music to play, do I?
Warning.
No, that's not good.
Warning.
Can you hear that? I hope so. Oh, you know what? All right, so we got sound. Got sound. There we go. That's ugly. Now if you'll see the change, it's like a minute delay. All right, guys, I'll be back on in a minute. Take my little break, and I'll be back. All right. Think we got sound, everybody. I can't tell who's on, just so you know. I'm on a different screen in case you're watching and you're like, oh, I want to watch, but I really need to get off, but I think I need to stay on for some weird reason. You don't. Just be I like telling people to get off. Don't watch me. No, give me a second here. So I'm not sure how I'm gonna cast it on Instagram. I got a minute or two to iron out the kinks. We got sound today. Hooray. Of course, I'm doing a whole bunch of new stuff because I ended up having to move my studio to a different spot. So if you want to see, I've got a green screen today. So I'm trying something new. Look, it's not really new. If you don't know, I've been doing this. I took a break, I came back, and I had all this shit set up. So it was like automated. I'm a one-man show, and I had Chroma set up and all this stuff. So today was just a day where I figured I'd give it a shot and try some new stuff. So I'm kind of doing a little preamble before I get started and talk about my topic today. But really, I'm kind of gonna free flow today because I want to talk about my main headline that I put out there when I set up the online event was to talk about the struggle that I have constantly with this channel. Not only not because I want it to be my, it's my therapy, it's my outlet, but also to try to keep relevant and try to make sure that, people are engaging. I mean, and then I stop and I think, well, is that really what I want? Or is this more for me just to vent? And so, I mean, being realistic, get it off freaking green screen. Hold on. Let me just see something. Sorry about that. See, there we go. There we go. All right. So we're just going to fly with that right now. I got like different backgrounds I can do, I guess. If you really want to get crazy, I can make it like this. This is kind of cool. This is old shit I did set up. Maybe we want to make it called the nightcap. So it looks like, I'm just talking behind the mic. Anyway, all right. So I'm going to keep it like this because I like the way it looks. So, I put out when I started the online event, I'll get into it. I just wanted to talk about kind of my struggle. People appreciate when I share where I'm coming from. And I look back at some of the other videos. I'm fucking crying. Sometimes I'm angry. I mean, I was going through it watching the old videos. It was painful to watch. But the reason I do that is looking back, I'm pretty excited about the progress that I've made. So I don't know. Let me just check out, see what Instagram's looking like, because I just looked down and I want to make sure you guys can see. Are you not even seeing it anymore? Huh. Wow. Did Instagram cancel? I mean, I don't know. I had everything oh no, there it is. There you are. All right, cool. Wrong screen. I'm freaking out. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, you're there. You're like 2 minutes behind for some reason. But anyway, whatever. There's a delay. So, I'm looking at my content and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, you know what? There's a lot of progress. I mean, the first couple rants were me behind my desk pre-lockdown, kind of getting angry at the fact that, Donald Trump was elected. I think I might have actually one of the first videos I did was just right after kind of wincing at the George Floyd murder and just kind of it being bottled up and enraged. And so the history of Smashing the Party is I've had the Smashing the Party domain besides the fact that I lost it recently, but I set this up a long time ago. And part of it was to eventually have some platform, right, where I could yell and scream. I knew I was going to be able to, I wanted to do it unless I was going to go crazy with all the pent up aggression, right? And so systemic pent up aggression at the systems. And so, I look back at those videos and it was just kind of me just behind the camera, just winging it and like I'm doing today, but more, I just had a 720, whatever, no sound, just me yelling and screaming. And, I was pretty emotional because of what happened. And so those videos just are for me personal and they're great to watch for me and that to remember that moment. And some of the videos I watch and I wince because I'm like, what was I doing? Why was I that angry? Why did I have to be so coarse? But then I'm like, man, I was really angry. And I know when I watch those videos that it's real. It's not me just like kind of like trying to generate passion. It's genuine anger and frustration. And I think that resonates as well too. But I don't want to just be the yelling, screaming guy. Maybe I do. I don't know. I don't care if people are listening, whatever, right? Because a lot of times I feel like I need to yell and scream. But, I look back and I do see progress and I'm happy, but then I kind of look, around and I look at what I need to do to grow this and kind of get look, I have all these ideas, but I got to get, I want people to hear them. Right. So you have to have three things kind of going for you at the same time when you're doing this. And it's so when you see these people doing content kind of on a regular basis, or they've got a YouTube and they're doing, whatever, and they're grinding it out and they've got 500 viewers and you're like, what the hell, man, they're working all the time and just got five. Like there's a lot of things that go into it. There's a content, the three things I think of is like you need content, a content engine generation. And to me, that's me, right? I'm going to be spewing my Creed thoughts, if you will, from reference to The Office out into the world, not on a word doc, but so you need this content generation and there's me, but then there's the distribution of that content, slicing up and making it memey and whatever, right? So that's a whole thing. And then you've got kind of this, what was my third point? You got this creative engine, or the second point, the creative engine that needs to happen, which is kind of like not just content, but actually like making it kind of leveling it up into something creative. And I'll just, on an anecdotal note, I posted this video. It was not original. I admit I copied the idea. Okay. I copied the idea. The idea is this black dude kind of deadpan looks at the camera, looks to the side, and he has like a little bit of some typography up here that says, this is me frustrated with some blah, 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 random thing. So I made a video and put it on TikTok. And I said, this is me looking at my videos and seeing nobody likes them. And then, kind of being disgusted with everyone's post. And it was me. I was actually frustrated at the time because I was trying to figure something out on my phone. And I was hitting record. And so and I didn't realize I hit record. So I just recorded. I was like, all right, I'll just make a meme out of it. So whatever. It's not original. I go to post it on TikTok and they're like, well, I was like, I'll just, they're like, hey, you get some free coupons. Give us no money. You can boost it because you can, I was trying to cheat the system by getting these grow runs. I was like, TikTok basically slapped me in the ass and said no. So I was like, all right, I'll do it legit. I register my business. You can cry about it, whatever. I did it the wrong way. I know I should have done it personal, but I did it business. But anyway, I'm good. Smash the Party now is legit. It vetted. They got everything they know about Smash the Party. China knows about it. Whatever. Okay. They knew about it before. Do they care? Right. But the idea that they are kind of looking at their network and analyzing everything that's coming into it, even at a low level, and basically give me suggestions to say, hey, this is an original. And it was kind of like a slap in the face. And they ended up promoting anyway. And, it got like 5,000 hits, which is crazy compared to Facebook. I'm telling you, it's just crazy. I'm staying away from TikTok in that I don't want to be drawn into the voyeurism that comes with it, because then you start just clicking, the algorithm just kind of shapes up to what you want. And so I've been off of it, but like you kind of have to engage with the people that follow you. And I don't want to say that I'm not watching your videos. If I follow you on TikTok, I'm going to scroll through and watch the videos. But some of the stuff that I ended up following, I just like, all right, whatever. And I'm doing that across the board. That's a little bit of a sidetrack. My point is that the TikTok network is such that they actually kind of monitor the creative input into their engine, which tells you that, in my mind, if they're doing that across the network, it's a very it would tend to proliferate a lot of creativity, because people are instantly going to be like, well, what do you mean that's not original? And I mean, just like me, I'm like, I'm not going to take time to make an original one. Screw it, right? But if you're out there trying to beat the algorithm, you want to put original content, and the algorithm doesn't tag you that way, it's going to shoot you into the moon because it's original content. So that kind of engine, that's what I want as an engine for me. So one of the first points I talked about was content, just me generating the content, because that's the original stuff, right? That's what's original, is me on this. And again, if you're watching this, you're thinking I'm just talking about myself. Look, I don't care. I mean, this is my struggle. This is kind of how I have to kind of go through and process these things. So it is about me right now today. And kind of this whole show's about how I present my viewpoint to the world, right? So whatever. But this struggle that I have, I almost called this episode the struggle, because the content engine, I can do that. I'm okay even when I'm tired or dead, or I mean I can get angry and passionate and feel, and these things are important, right? There's times when I'm not going to do it, and you're probably going to be able to tell. But I really look back at some of the videos even that I sucked on, and I'm like, all right, well, I did, you could tell that I cared, and it wasn't, again, so that'll get better, whatever. Creative engine is the tough one, especially when you have a network telling you you're uploading to a network, a social network. It's like, hey, you're not original. Okay, shit, I thought I was original. All right. And so and then, the other thing that's kind of, and if you're like a student of social media and marketing and all that shit, this is just me kind of articulating how I'm struggling, kind of, because I think these three things I understand and I can do. The relevancy is the third point. So I kind of thought of them as three engines, like a content engine, a creative engine, but it all kind of boils down to relevant. If you're so, creating content and it's creative, but it's not relevant, then I think you're missing something. So there's this kind of trifecta where you have to have content. It has to be kind of unique content. And then it also has to be relevant and, to something. So that's why you'll see a bunch of folks jumping on memes, and the memes just come out when something new comes out, because you're trying to be that relevant, whatever. And it's not about a meme factory. As I say that, I hesitate to go into that. But the truth is that you kind of have to be relevant and get into that stream, even if I want to do this longer form kind of whatever the hell I want to call this, right? Which is just me kind of, going off. And to that note, that's why I'm expanding into this after hours. And one of the things that I've got to put together, don't worry if you're still watching, I have a plan, but I want to expand in other things because I want to still be relevant. I want people like, all right, that guy's just not angry all the time. He does talk to other people, and he interacts with society, and maybe I'm joking, but the point is that there are people that don't want to just kind of chime in, but I'd love to reach them. I'd like to have their interest in their eye, because I think that even if we're talking about the mechanisms of how to green screen properly, after a couple times of doing it, maybe I can have some input. And maybe that's a relevant conversation where people want to talk about it because I'm running a stream, and it has nothing to do with politics, right? But that's some conversation I could have. So there's relevancy that you can have in that way. Politics is tough to be relevant because you got to kind of, and one of the things that I saw as I'm looking, let me just wrap it back so you can see the fluidity of this whole conversation. My whole point was to talk about the struggle and kind of how to be relevant and that content, and then looking back at myself, kind of seeing the progress. Then, it moves into this next spot where you have these three elements. And then, you start to look at the competition, and that's where you can kind of get really frustrated because, I walk into, this is kind of where I'm leading to, where Ben Shapiro kind of hit the people's attention by being very like brash and controversial, but like saying he had some kind of meme engine where he was, and again, Ben Shapiro, respect to what he's built. No disrespect there. It's not easy. And I mean, he's a target for people to make fun of, and he's got to take that. And I made fun of him and all that stuff. And I know it's hard. And I'm not sympathetic to people that put themselves out there to take public brash. I get what it comes at you. But I am sympathetic to just kind of building that empire, and then just the amount of hate that he must get. It must feel nice though with those checks, but again, it's still pretty brutal. I mean, there's a lot of psychological kind of back and forth that goes along with putting yourself into a conversation, especially one that's personal to people. And sometimes I end up doing that, and even though I have a strong opinion, it's maybe wrong, and it may be pissing somebody off the point where they're like, "Fuck this guy." Happens all the time, right? But so that's another kind of way that I see the relevancy engine is like you kind of pick your battles and you say, all right, this is my thing and this is how I stay relevant or whatever. And so that's kind of tricky. I have my hot button issues. And, I was thinking about that. And like a lot of my hot button issues are just because of my personal struggle, right? And so and so I'm probably I can't get lost on trying to be relevant to everybody, right? Because not everybody's going to relate with my experience. There's people that are watching this probably like sitting behind on their yacht going, oh, fucking Nate and his little fucking change the world, fucking start from the bottom up bullshit. I don't know. Maybe there's a guy in the yacht watching this. Who knows? But what the point is that I think that, it's kind of important for me to have the ability to shit. I lost my train of thought. Let's go into relevancy, talking about relevancy, staying relevant, and talking about Ben Shapiro. Oh, I know what it was. So I'm just going to go right to the point that kind of led me to that digression. The relevancy engine part is like you look at somebody like Ben Shapiro and how he stays relevant, and you can see kind of that's a model, and there's a model where you can kind of be controversial or be a polemic. I love that word. It's just like somebody that looks for the most controversial issue and takes the opposite approach, kind of like Ann Coulter's a renowned polemic. She makes her money on just being on the opposite side of things and fighting stuff. And sometimes the right hates her and sometimes the left hates her. She's pretty good at it. She's really good at it. She doesn't mind being that. She's taking it to the bank. So again, I'm not suggesting these people are good for society, but I see they see the hustle, and that's how you can stay relevant. And so, I look at how do I want to stay relevant, and it's not that I want to stay relevant that bad that I need to poke at what is a hot button issue. But again, for me, the hot button issues are consistent, and they're the things that ruin the system and make people do things or allow people to be, to have power over somebody else, or allow people to not have any power. And so that's why, for me, it comes down to these kind of systemic things. Always comes down to these systemic things. So they're always relevant to me. And so I guess one of the things that I'm going to probably want to do more of is, wrapping the things that are happening that are current and let me just back up. There's an issue I have with some of the things that become relevant, and that they are generated by the media. They're not necessarily things that should be relevant. It may not be the things that are important to us, but so relevancy is this kind of amorphic kind of, moving target, kind of misty mist that you kind of follow, and it's not tangible. You kind of just see it, but then you walk through it and you're like, all right, am I here? Am I relevant? I guess I'm in the fog. I guess now I can see people, but am I relevant? Yeah, I think this is foggy. I mean, I don't know. So, I think that's kind of, that was really meta, right? That's kind of another challenge is like, how do you say what's relevant? And then it becomes editorial again, right? Becomes like, all right, well, I think this is relevant. And so rather than go down all those crazy rabbit holes of chaos, in my mind, it's like, all right, well, I'll keep it personal. And so I think one of the things that always makes it interesting is people appreciate when I'm vulnerable, which isn't easy for me, except when I'm, talking about something else. But talking about myself, I throw out I'm pretty cavalier about certain things, but then other things I'm not cavalier about. And so, and those, when I say that I'm not, I struggle with the things that probably a lot of people struggle with that have my background, which is people pleasing, and then kind of that imposter syndrome where I'm like, all right, well, am I good enough all the time? So my biggest struggle is being, for me to be kind of continue to generate content, continue to be creative and be relevant. It's always going to tie back to how much something affects me, and how my viewpoint is. And that viewpoint that I look through is oftentimes based on, things that were pretty rough that happened to me that I didn't even realize make me do things or make me think to certain ways. So that is something that I can talk about. And when it's relevant, I mean, one of the biggest things I'll tell you is the whole George Floyd thing was pretty powerful for me, because that was a mechanism that was used on me as a child before I was adopted. So like choking and taking someone's breath is something that like I actually had happen to the point of passing out multiple times. It was a form of punishment. So like that is something that like people are like, well, I couldn't watch, and I truth be told, I haven't really watched the whole thing because I can't. Just because I know what it feels like to not breathe, and then for me, it was just passed out, done until I passed out, and then, obviously crying until I in terror, and then passing out, and then so I tell you that only because that's kind of what started this whole thing. And so stories like that, which are kind of crazy, I don't really like to even mention it because people are like, whoa. And I'm in therapy and all that shit. But it's stuff like that like says, all right, you know what? Nobody should be able to have power over somebody else. And in my case, I was a child, an adult who was well trained in children, to believe it or not, they were a pediatrician. So this was calculated. And so there was inert power over me at a young age, which probably ended up making me this angry person about when someone has their thumb on somebody else in some capacity. So that's always going to be where I'm coming from on almost every case, is like, where's the thumb at and where's the pressure? And I don't know, like oftentimes these arguments, people don't see it that clearly. And for me, because of those awful things, to me, it's like, all right, who's got power there? Who's in control? Now you could say, well, why are you always thinking that way? Well, I mean, obviously, because if I see a dynamic where somebody's feeling like slighted, then I feel like, is there a power dynamic? and you can see that happens from, sometimes people do it physically, and sometimes people do it through systems, and sometimes people do it through emotional abuse or whatever it is. And so I'm always kind of on the other side of that. And it's caused my own issues. It's caused me to, to have my own kind of trauma responses and everything else. So this kind of shapes my views, those things that happened. And then growing up the way I grew up. And again, the things that happened to me that were very traumatic did not happen with the last name that I have of Bombergers. Before that, so I just want to be clear. This was not my current family that was adopted. So they were magnificent. We have struggles just like every other family, but nothing, that was an oasis for me. They saved me for the most part. I mean, for every part. I'm blessed I'm very, 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 very lucky, blessed, whatever you want to call it, for my experience at the Bombergers, who's my family. But I will say that, those type of things kind of shape my views. And so, I worry sometimes that when I say something, sometimes when you are vulnerable, that the challenge is like, all right, well, now you said that thing. And then I think, well, I don't really care. like if someone's like, well, you did this too. All right. Yeah. That is one thing I don't give a shit about. So I guess my challenge of being vulnerable has always been like just how comfortable I am about disclosing things. I mean, I guess, and then I learned that, the biggest thing that I have for this whole three things that I'm struggling with, the content engine, the creativity, and the relevancy, is, my fear to tell my story, which I've kind of talked about, and I've done some filming about it, and, just kind of walked around the edge. But perhaps in some kind of format over time, that will help people understand a little bit more about why I'm so determined to be right about some of these things that I feel are systemic, power struggles that happen. I'm way off tangent there. I understand that, but it's important for me to kind of help you understand. Like, I think about these things especially because I watched this video back and I'm like, what was I thinking that day? Like, what was going through my head, and where was I at? And a lot of times when I watch the video, I'm like, damn, I was angry. I was definitely like, my word, you could see it coming through my fingers. Like, I was just like, shaking with fury at just the things that were going on. And maybe I was you could say I was a little dramatic. Sure, I was. I don't care, whatever. I was definitely hot on it. But I think that it's also important for me to really take this serious and say, if I'm going to put this forum out there and just sound like I know what I'm talking about, then I have to be open to just telling people really kind of where I came up with that and why I came up with those things. So sometimes I like to poo-poo things and not really tell why. But that's that anecdote, which you can take it or leave it. Maybe you already knew that, is kind of what initiated the smashing the party coming out of the fold. Is that it was personal for me in a way. Not only the race, but also the methodology. So that one, see that I can't even think about it. It just breaks my heart. See, there you go. That's why I don't like to talk about it, because it's like, shit, man, that sucks. I mean, the whole experience, just to think about that death, ugh, it just does traumatize me, as you can see. Anyway, so fuckers. There we go. Bastards. Anyway, so that's kind of where it comes from. So there's a lot of shit that I think when people watch this, they're like, "Oh, you're just angry, you're just blah, blah." And I walk around kind of with what may seem like a chip on my shoulder. It's probably because I'm somehow deep in some thought of trying to understand the world and how fucked up it is. And I'm not saying that because I'm some fucking Kant, philosophical motherfucker. I definitely am aware of the fact that my interactions and how I'm perceived is probably just misunderstood oftentimes, which is something I touched on yesterday a little bit too. I don't know if my sound got through, and how I communicate. And so part of this today's kind of wrapping up, if you will, and if I'm still on camera, hopefully on the moon. All right, cool. Let's get some brighter background. I do enjoy this so much. Like I was even tonight thinking about like just talking about this and just planning what I was going to say and share. I know this is good for me more than it's probably good for anybody, in that it really does give me a place to process my thoughts. So look, if you're still listening at this point, congratulations. You're a true fan. You got to hear some real shit, maybe shit you didn't know. But I will continue to. One of the things I didn't do last time was I didn't fulfill my promise to continue this. And I really felt a lot of shame and guilt about the fact that people were kind of contributing to me. And then I lost the website, and I was kind of almost like up in the air about even getting back until I got my website back, which I didn't get back yet. But I just want to say, like, I'm committed to continue to be open and vulnerable when I can. And I'm committed to fucking trying to educate when I can. And the reason I'm saying that is because this is really all the things that I got that's going to leave behind. I don't have any children. This is it. I got 2 pugs. This is it. I got a wife, and I'll probably die before her. So, maybe this will not be the shame of my existence. But I take it seriously, and I'm not trying to be all somber, but I think that when I was thinking about today, I really wanted to make it kind of apparent that, there's a lot of kind of where do I want to go with this? And then how do I continue to make it interesting where people are like, all right, I want to check into this motherfucker, and he's got some interesting things to say. And part of that, as I'm learning from the feedback, which you guys I'm hearing, by the way, this is all from feedback. People want to see me be more vulnerable and share things. And I don't like to, because then I get emotional. But from the feedback, I think that I can commit to that. It's not hard. It's just that it's actually kind of cathartic when I do open up on here. And that's probably why I should do it more, right? I didn't look at the camera today a lot because I have a couple cameras. So don't think I'm all shifty. I promise you. I wasn't sure whether to look at this camera, or that one. And I'm realizing that I should have been looking at this one the whole time. Oh, what do they say? C'est la vie. All right. So I'm going to wrap. Let me just kind of put a bow on that. So today I walked in with the challenge of kind of being relevant and looking back on progress, being happy, looking forward, competition, how they stay relevant, kind of talked about that, shared a little story about what kind of initially made me start this, and then talked about why that is relevant and how my personal experience is relevant and how I'm going to try to do a better job of bringing that to the table. I know I'm not a very open person per se. People have perceptions of me just because of maybe the way I carry myself, or because they see me online and just think I'm just yelling and screaming all the time. But I'm gonna try to open up and let you know, like I'm not only a bona fide asshole, but I'm actually a kind of human being that like kind of came to the conclusion, and this is who I am. This is the conclusion. So I'll tell you what brought me to this conclusion, which is my existence. And if you continue to listen, maybe there'll be a story in there. That's the other thing I'm learning, is that people enjoy the stories. So I'll try to tell more stories. All right. That's it for tonight. Hopefully you got enough and you can get some sleepies. Hopefully you listen to this on the commute. If you're listening to this on the commute, I appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to all the stuff. Make sure you like it. Make sure you share it. Add a comment. I'm just trying to get things by every week. I'm improving. You can yell and scream at me. I will take it personally, but that's okay. If that's how you want to engage, I appreciate it. Just do it. Leave a nasty comment. I'll probably hide it if it's too nasty. But that's the game we're in, folks. So make sure I'm on all the platforms. TikTok is kind of where I'm spending a little time, just because it's easy to grow your network because it's kind of casual. So follow me on there. I did random lives and things like that. It's totally different content than what you see on here. And mostly just me being a funny duddy weirdo playing with the algorithm. I've actually considered doing makeup and dancing. I don't care. Like, the algorithm is such that you kind of can look at the trends and then jump on the bandwagon. So I may play the game just to get the followers, but it's not a lot of work to do the videos if I'm just kind of letting it be the content and not getting all crazy about perfection, which is where I'm at right now. By the way, I'm just getting used to talking and doing this as I get the technical stuff. Look, I threw a green screen in today at last minute. We'll get better, but continue to listen, follow, like, subscribe. Let me know how I did. Let me know if you enjoyed it. Let me know if the sound worked. Some of y'all are crazy and doing awesome reporting back on, sending me clips of sound, and in some cases actually calling me and letting me know, hey, real time, what's going on. I appreciate it. I'm still going to power through even if I have a bad night. So continue to give me the feedback. I do use it and improve. Thanks a lot for listening tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you will stick with me and watch where the fuck this grows. Because last time we got it pretty big, and people didn't even know it was big, and I didn't know how big it was. And that was kind of before I even knew anything. So let's continue to follow, like, engage. If you want to know the numbers, I'll talk about the numbers next week. But I mean, I've got like 1,500% on pretty much every statistic. So yeah, it's kind of good. I mean, I went from 0 to something, so you can take that with a grain of salt, but I really appreciate it. And that's why I said thank you. Thank you, everybody. I can't say thanks enough. You are engaging, even if you don't like it or subscribe it or whatever. I do get the views and the shares and all that stuff. So even if you click on the video for a second, it somehow registers it as some reach or something that you're interacting with that I can somehow tag in the future. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll wrap, and appreciate everyone's time tonight. Get some sleepies or get to work safe. I know people listen to me on the work. I love that. I love that idea. I love the fact that people put me on in background noise when they're working. I don't care. Do it. I'll get better and longer. And that's what she said. But anyway, we'll go on that. Thanks, everybody. I don't know if that's what was appropriate at the end, huh? That's what she said.